It's race week in Estonia as athletes head to Tallinn for 70.3 European champs. In this video, I'll break down my top 3 stories I'll be following on race day. The race within the race for Pro Series points as the top women battle it out, short course athletes stepping up after the Olympics, and 2 of the fastest runners in our sport. Stick around to the end as I make my picks for the race. Let's go. The women's field includes 4 athletes who will be battling it out for the top spots at the end of the season in the Pro Series. We've got Maja Stage-Nielsen, who currently sits in 4th, Kat Matthews, who's in 7th, Els Visser, who's in 12th, and Penny Slater, who's in 15th after that disappointing performance in Lake Placid. Matthews, Visser and Slater all need to race 2 17.3s to maximise their points in the series, while Nielsen has already raced one, so presumably is racing here as a backup for 70.3 Worlds. For an athlete to do well in the series, you need 3 good Ironman scores and 2 good 70.3 scores. Now, 2 of those should come from the 2 World Championship events, Ironman and 70.3 World Championships in Nice and Taupo for the women. Both the World Championships have extra points on offer, so if you're not racing those, it's already putting you on the back foot. At the moment in the rankings, all the athletes have raced a different number of races, so to break through some of that noise, I'm just going to look at who's had 2 good Ironman scores to start with. So you can see Kat Matthews tops the table with a perfect 10,000 points, closely followed by Jackie Herring, Lottie Wilms and Hannah Berry. If Kat can continue her perfect score here in Tallinn, adding another 2,500 points, she'll be in a commanding position heading into those championship races. She's the best athlete in this field and is the clear favourite to win, but there is a relative newcomer who'll be looking to challenge her, and make sure you keep watching to find out who that is. So you can see Visser and Stage-Nielsen have performed similarly over the Ironmans, so it'll be an interesting battle to see if they can get one up in each other over the middle distance. Now, like I said, Maja Stage-Nielsen has already raced a 70.3 in Les Alpes, and despite coming 7th, she still scored really good points, 2,257, and another solid result here would really take the pressure off in Taupo. While Els Visser hasn't done a 70.3 yet, so it's important for her to get some good points on the board to continue her hunt in the series. If we add in that extra 70.3 score for the athletes, the table changes and Maja Stage-Nielsen moves up to 2nd overall. This is where Els Visser will be hoping to score points to equal that over the best 3 races they've had. Now we're getting to the point of the season where every race is becoming more important, and there are only a few 70.3s left in the series. If this race goes badly for Matthews, Slater or Visser, who all need to start scoring those 70.3 points, then they'll need to get another one in the diary. The ZLMC start list came out this week, and you can see Matthews and Visser are both on there, and presumably that's a backup in case something goes wrong at this race. Ideally, you don't want to be racing 2 70.3s back to back only 3 weeks before World Champs in Nice. Now, the last opportunity to score those 70.3 points in the series before the World Championship in Taupo is at Western Australia at the start of December. Now, for Kat Matthews, that clashes with the T100 Grand Final, so she has to get the job done on Sunday this week to avoid racing back-to-back races going into the World Championship and avoid missing out on points overall. If she can get a good result here, she'll be well on track to winning the overall series. This year has long been anticipated as the year we see a mass exodus from short course triathlon, and we're starting to see some of those athletes step up the distance here in Tallinn. For the women, we've got Solveig Lovsev, a Norwegian short course athlete who's actually unbeaten over the middle distance over 2 races. She made her middle distance debut at 70.3 Indian Wells last year and got the better of Tamara Jewett and Jackie Herring. She picked up her 2nd win earlier this year at 70.3 Warsaw, and she's an absolute weapon on the bike and can back it up with a solid run. She outrode the field over those 2 70.3s by an average of 5 minutes and has run in the 1:19s, so that shows you what a threat she can be over this distance. Now, unusually for a short course athlete, she's weakest on the swim. She swam with Tamara Jewett in Indian Wells last year, so we might see her come out of the water close to Kat Matthews in that group, in that sort of 2nd chase pack. Now, I'm really interested to see how Lovsev matches up with Kat Matthews on the bike. We could see them come out of the water together and work together on the bike, and if you throw Sif Bendix Madsen in there, they could obliterate the field, build a huge advantage and almost guarantee a podium for the 3 of them. Now, on the men's side, we've got Jelle Gaines. He's coming off a disappointing Olympics, 42nd in the individual and a DNS in the mixed team relay after Claire Michelle fell ill. He was maybe slightly below where I expected him in Oceanside. He got dropped by that front bike pack with Lionel Sanders and Sam Long, and he maybe didn't run as well, feeling that in his legs. The bike strength definitely isn't as high as it was in Oceanside in Tallinn, so I'm expecting to fare a bit better on the bike and back it up with a better run, which I think could see him making the podium. Next, we've got Sam Dickinson. He's coming off the Olympics where he completely justified his selection with a great mixed team relay performance, helping to earn GB that bronze medal. He's raced 170.3 before in Bahrain at the end of 2022, coming second to Vincent Louis. He's a decent swimmer and a strong rider, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see him in the mix for a top 5 or even in the podium. Lastly, we've got American Kevin McDowell, who was a reserve at the Olympics. We haven't seen him race a 70.3 before, but he raced at Challenge Daytona in 2022 and suffered a bit on the swim and bike. He's coming off a year of injury and illness in 2023 and has probably underperformed at the short course races we've seen him at so far this year. However, he was sixth at the Olympics in 2021, and that shows the kind of calibre of athlete that he is, but it may be too early for him to really compete. Now, if you look at these athletes, none of them were stars of the show in the Olympics. Sam Dickinson had a great performance in the relay, but was just a satellite athlete in the individual. But they can come across and already build up the hype and compete at the middle distance. I think Jelle Gaines might make the podium and Sam Dickinson will be up there. And everyone's talking about Solveig Lovseth as somebody that can challenge Kat Matthews. So it's interesting to see what kind of athlete can transition across from short course to middle distance and make an impact. This race has one of the fastest runners in triathlon. Tamara Jewett has run the fastest run split in her last 14 Ironman 70.3 races where she's made it to the run. Now, I've had to add in that slight qualifier because of her DNF in Oceanside, but that statistic is still crazy. She's averaged a 1:15 run split over those 14 runs, with a best of 1:13 and a slowest of 1:20. That is absurd. She had a slow start to the year, but seems to be finding form, coming off her best ever performance at a T100 race with 6th in London. She seems to have struggled a bit on the bike in those T100 races, but you'd expect her to fare a bit better over the 70.3 distance, where it's down at a 12-metre draft zone instead of that 20 metres. However, to challenge for the win, she'd still need to come off the bike within at most 3 minutes of Kat Matthews, and even that might be too much. Kat only lost 40 seconds to Tamara at 70.3 Worlds last year and continues to assert her dominance over every distance of triathlon. Could she be the one who finally gets the better of Tamara over the 70.3 distance? Let me know what you think down below. Now onto my picks for the race, and starting with the women, and this field is deep. I've already mentioned Kat Matthews, Els Visser, Maja Stage-Nielsen, Penny Slater, Sif Bendix Madsen, Tamara Jewett. Add to that Grace Tech, Lisa Norden, Kaidi Kivioja, who are all coming off racing in the T100 series in London. You've got Pamela Oliveira and Marta Sanchez, who have already been involved in the T100 series earlier this year. You've got Kate Curran, who's probably the next best Brit after Kat Matthews in this race, who's coming off a podium from Le Sable. And then you've got two more Brits in Lizzie Rayner and Megan McDonald, who both podiumed at 70.3 Swansea. The list keeps going. We've got Sarah Spence, who podiumed in the Pro Series at 70.3 Mallorca. We've got Emily Morier and Caroline Pohl, who are both in contention at Les Sables. And you've got Lauren Brandon over from America, who you can expect to lead out the swim. Now for me, Kat Matthews is the clear favourite, and I've got her taking the win ahead of Solveig Lovseth, who I think will get the better of Tamara Jewett, who I've got in third, moving through the field on the run. In fourth, I've got Grace Tech. She struggled a bit over the T100 series, but I can see her bouncing back over the 70.3. And then fifth, I've got Sif Bendix Madsen, who will have a great bike, but may struggle a little bit on the run. Now for the men, the field probably isn't quite as deep as it is for the women, but it's led by Peter Hemrich, who's been solid over the T100 series so far this year, and you've also got short course athletes like Jelle Gaines and Sam Dickinson, like I've already mentioned. Add to that athletes that are competing across the Pro Series, but they're coming off Frankfurt. Mike Phillips, Paul Schuster, Kasper Stepaniak will all be carrying that fatigue into the race. I'm interested to see where Justus Nieschlag is. He struggled with injury last year, but he's had 2 podiums so far this year. He'll be at the front of that swim along with Mark Dubrick. And we've got Leonard Arnold coming off a 70.3 win just last weekend in Czechia. And not to forget Robert Callan, who will likely try and ride off the front of this field, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see someone like Max Spell try and go with him. I think this race is a lot more wide open than the women's race, where it feels like we've got quite a clear top 2, top 3. Here I've got Peter Hemrich taking the win ahead of Jelle Gaines in second, who I'm expecting to get onto the podium after missing out in Oceanside. In third I've got Justus Nieschlag ahead of Leonard Arnold, who'll be coming off a 70.3 from last week, and in fifth I've got Mark Dubrick. And there we go, there are my top 3 stories to follow on race day, my picks for the race. Let me know who you've got down below, and make sure you tune in and watch the race. Cheers.